Hello, welcome back. So the Cork mane turned up a couple of days ago, a little bit out of the blue, but I was expecting him at some point. And look, he's already started to take the cork off of quite a few trees here. I'm a little bit surprised by this because at the front of the house, I know that the cork was removed around about 3 years ago. Of course, if it was anywhere near the time that the cork was ready, they wouldn't have sold the house without taking some of the cork off. But around here, a little bit more than I thought. Maybe there'll be a bit more going forward as well in the next couple of days. He's coming back this evening. But in case you were ever wondering how they took the cork off, wonder no longer, because I videoed part of it. So have a look at this. Out of the way, Bert, come here. Out of the way, out of the way.
Problema. Oh yes. Estaba pensando en pasar a leña y a picar hasta vir buscar o dinheirinho. Sábado, a gente dar mais uma volta.
Yeah.
Sábado. Okay.
Hey. That's definitely my favourite one right there, all twisted down the bank. So it's been a couple of days now. He's been back and forth, managed to take the cork off of 55 trees so far. There's still a number to go, but it's all looking very different here at this point in time. Unfortunately, the quality of a lot of this wood wasn't too good, and obviously that's going to be reflected in the price. If I say A quality wood, that's probably the most obvious way of looking at it. Roughly speaking, 15 kilograms of the good quality stuff will get you about 30 euros. And obviously, as that quality diminishes, so will the price, as with everything. And it could go down to pennies, depending obviously. And one pretty silly example, I guess, is if you're drinking a fairly expensive bottle of wine, you'll notice that the cork in there is really smooth. And that would have been stamped out of the A grade cork. But on a cheaper wine, you'll probably find that it's using the B stock, and it's all been mushed and glued together, and you'll see that it has more of a texture on it. I wouldn't actually know too much about that because I don't drink much wine. But it does make it look a lot easier, I think, than perhaps it really is. It's obviously an art form, and it's not just about the cutting the cork off. It's knowing where to cut it and when to cut it, obviously. And just because every 9 years the cork is removed doesn't mean that it's going to be ready. It doesn't mean that it's going to be the best quality either. And they've got to know what part of the tree to take it from. And sometimes you'll see a tree where the cork is removed part way up. And I'm just going down to this one here because this is one of the larger ones that he hasn't got down to yet. And you can see that this has been done in 2 different stages, from the base here up to there, and then at another time along there. So here's an example of one of my neighbour's tree. You'll see it's got his initials at the top, and then it's got a 0 underneath. Now that will be 2020, which is when the cork was taken off of that tree. So we'll now know that the next time the cork is taken off of there will be 2029, every 9 years. So there are a few trees just in this little area where the trees are either dead or dying, and there's a white line around it. So the camera will send someone round here, and if the tree is on its way out like this one is, they'll put that white line around it to let everyone know that they're aware of it, and then someone has to come back here and cut them down. I don't know how long from painting that line on to actually having them cut down it takes, but there are a number I've just noticed just in this little patch. So hopefully I won't be seeing too many of those around my area anytime soon. So when the wood, or when the cork, sorry, is taken off the tree, they take them to a little holding space. And of course the one I'm about to show you now hasn't got any cork in it, but it'll give you an idea as to where they put it. So I know this last year, my first year in this area, was absolutely jam-packed with cork, and it looked really impressive. I believe, now you can't quote me on this because what do I know? They lay here for quite a few months, and I believe they're actually left outside for a year to completely dry out. But when it comes to the pricing of it, I think they leave it for 2 weeks, and then they'll weigh it again and tell you whether it's good stock, B stock or A stock. And that will be obviously at that point when you find out the value. So what I thought was quite interesting is how they weigh it. You'll see some areas around here where there is this metal platform alongside the road, and the truck full of cork will drive onto it, and they weigh the truck with everything all together, and then they'll take the cork off and weigh the truck again, and then that will determine the weight of that cork. So unfortunately the guy, when he was here, told me that some of the trees in the fenced area here probably aren't going to last past 10 years, which is a real shame. Cork trees tend to grow for 200 years. I've no idea how old these ones are, but I'm assuming they are of some age because of the height of them. But I can actually see myself which ones probably won't last as long. The leaves falling off is an obvious sign, discolouring and so on. But also there are these little bugs that will get into the trees, and unfortunately the 3 at the front of my house did have those in them. So I need to make sure that I clear that as quick as possible so that they don't then start working their way up this way, because it'll be a real shame to lose the whole feel of this area, especially this lovely line coming up here. And I don't want to replace this bit with carob trees. I do have quite a few trees along the outside rim which are only a few years old, maybe 5 years old, and they will eventually grow up to be obviously big trees. But that's going to be about 20 years before they can have their first cork taken off. And I'm hoping that we can get a few more in here. There's about 40 something in this area, and there's also another up to 50 further up that have been planted in the not too distant past. But I'm going to have to start thinking about something else like carobs, because they'll bring in a little bit of money every year as well further down the line. And I really want to make sure that if these do die, that we don't end up with a barren landscape. And I need to make that as one of my priorities, to make sure someone who's coming from the city, as it were, who's new to all this, I not only want it to look pretty, but I want to make sure that I maintain it as well as possible and give everything as best chance it can of growing. But the climate here is slightly changing, and apparently 20 plus years ago the cork was a lot better than it is now, because it's getting a lot drier here. But we shall see how we get on with this. We do have a lot of new ones over there. I just need to make sure I look after them. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to end the video. So thank you very much for watching. I have been working back at the house, and that'll all be in the next video on Saturday. We're getting ever closer to getting that concrete poured into the roof, so I hope you can join me on that. Until next time, look after yourself, stay happy and stay positive. Bye bye.